Welcome to GenWarz, your ultimate destination for epic lore deep dives into the worlds you love. Today, we're embarking on a journey through the rich and intricate history of Middle-earth. This is the land where legends were born, where the destinies of elves, men, dwarfs, and hobbits intertwined, and where every stone, every tree, and every shadow has a story to tell. We're going to explore the great and tumultuous history of a world that was sung into existence by divine beings, only to be marred by the ambitions of one fallen spirit. We'll talk about the rise and fall of mighty kingdoms, the creation of beautiful yet cursed artifacts, and the heroic deeds that defined this legendary realm. This is a world where even the smallest act of courage can change the course of history, and where hope often emerges from the most unexpected places. We'll start from the very beginning with the Ainur, the first beings created by Ainulindale, and their incredible music that shaped the world of Arda. We'll look into how Melkar's desire for power and control disrupted the harmony and brought conflict and darkness to this pristine new world. This was just the beginning of Middle-earth's long history of struggle between light and dark, good and evil. Then, we'll move into the First Age, a time of great beauty and great sorrow. We'll meet the Elves, the firstborn, who awoke under the stars, and we'll follow their journey to Aman, the land of the Valar. We'll see how the desire for the Silmarils led Fëanor and his people to rebellion and war, and how Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, cast his shadow over all of the Lyrien. It was an age of heroes and tragedies, of glorious battles and heartbreaking losses. But Middle-earth didn't end with the First Age. As we move into the Second Age, we'll witness the rise of the mighty kingdom of Numenor, a realm of men blessed with long life and great wisdom. Yet, even Numenor fell to pride and fear, manipulated by the deceitful Sauron, whose influence would cast a long shadow over the ages to come. We'll explore the forging of the Rings of Power, the creation of the One Ring, and the last stand of the Free Peoples against Sauron's tyranny at the end of this age. And then comes the Third Age, the age we know best, the age of the War of the Ring. We'll journey from the peaceful Shire, through the dark depths of Moria, to the besieged city of Minas Tirith, and finally, to the fiery chasm of Mount Doom. We'll see how the courage of a few individuals, the Fellowship of the Ring, stood against the overwhelming power of Sauron. This is the age where the fate of Middle-earth was decided by the smallest and most unlikely of heroes. But Middle-earth's story doesn't end with the fall of Sauron. We'll touch on the beginning of the Fourth Age, the Age of Men, when the great elven lords sailed into the west, and the world of magic and myth faded into history. It's a bittersweet ending, a reminder that all things, even the most beautiful and powerful, must come to an end. So, if you're ready to dive deep into the history of this extraordinary world, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And we want to hear from you. What's your favorite part of Middle-earth's history? Is it the epic battles, the tragic love stories, or the quiet moments of hope and friendship that resonate most with you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we love discussing these timeless tales with fellow fans. This is just the beginning of our journey through the ages of Middle-earth. So grab your Lember's bread, sit back, and get ready to explore a world where myths and legends come to life, where hope and despair walk hand in hand, and where the actions of even the humblest can shape the fate of all. Welcome to GenWarz. Let's dive into the history of Middle-earth. Let's start at the very beginning of Middle-earth, before there were lands, seas, or even time itself. Imagine a void, an endless cosmic expanse filled with silence. This is where it all begins with Ainulindale, the one who dwells alone in the timeless halls. But he was not alone for long. From his thought, he brought forth the Ainur, mighty spirits, each with their own unique essence and purpose. Ainulindale proposed to them a great theme, a melody so profound that it transcended the very fabric of existence. The Ainur began to sing, and from their music, the universe itself started to take shape. This was the Ainulindale, the great music. It wasn't just any music, It was a cosmic symphony, with each Aina contributing their voice, their part, to the harmony. The melodies intertwined, building upon each other, creating light and beauty that had never been seen before. But there was one Aina, the mightiest of them all, named Melkor. He had ideas of his own. Melkor sought to weave his own themes into the music, introducing discord and chaos, hoping to bend the symphony to his will. Imagine a beautiful orchestra, each instrument perfectly in tune, when suddenly a lone player starts adding dissonant notes, disrupting the flow. The harmony wavered, and the other Aina struggled to maintain their melodies against Melkor's rebellion. Despite the discord, Iluvatar allowed this to happen. He saw that even Melkor's chaotic notes could be woven into the greater tapestry, adding depth and contrast to the music. And so, through this blend of harmony and conflict, the world of Arda, the realm that would become Middle-earth, was envisioned. Iluvatar then showed the Aina the world they had sung into being, a vision of Arda. The Aina were captivated by its beauty and potential. Some of them, filled with love and a desire to see this vision made real, descended into Arda itself. These were the Valar, the powers of the world, and the Maya, their lesser spirits. They took on forms and began to shape the world according to the music they had sung. It was a time of immense creativity and power. The Valar molded the mountains, filled the seas, and brought forth the skies. All, the master of crafts, forged the very bones of the earth, while Yavanna, the giver of fruits, made the first plants and trees grow. Manwë, the leader of the Valar, filled the skies with winds and clouds, while his partner, Varda, set the stars alight in the heavens. But even here, Melkor's influence was felt. He, too, entered Arda, seeking to dominate and corrupt what the other Valar were building. Where they raised mountains, he cast them down. Where they filled the seas, he caused tumultuous storms. He sought to claim Arda as his own, and his shadow loomed over the world, casting a darkness that the other Valar struggled to push back. It was like the ultimate cosmic jam session, but with a twist. Imagine a band trying to play a beautiful symphony while their most powerful member keeps throwing in wild solos, trying to take over the entire performance. That's what Melkor did. He brought conflict and strife to the world, shaping it in ways that none of the other Aina had intended. But even in this turmoil, there was hope. The Valar and Maya did not give up. They continued to prepare the world, knowing that it was not for them alone. They were setting the stage for the coming of the children of Iluvatar, the elves and men, who would inherit this world and whose actions would shape its fate far beyond what even the Aina could foresee. And so, the world of Arda was made ready, its lands formed, its seas filled, its skies set alight with stars. But it was a world scarred by Melkor's malice, filled with both beauty and danger. It was a world that would see great sorrow and great heroism, a world where the struggle between light and dark would play out over thousands of years. This is how Middle-earth was born, through the music of the Aina, the rebellion of Melkor, and the tireless efforts of the Valar and Maya to shape a world that was both magnificent and flawed. And this is just the beginning of our journey into the history of Middle-earth. If you think Melkor would have been a terrible bandmate, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the epic tales of this incredible world. Let's journey back to the beginning of the First Age, a time of wonder and awe when the first elves awakened under the starlit skies of Middle-earth. Imagine this, a peaceful, untouched world where the only light comes from the countless stars twinkling above. It was here, beside the still waters of Quivionin, that the first elves opened their eyes to the world. These beings, the firstborn of Iluvatar, were unlike anything that had walked the earth before. They were beautiful, graceful, and immortal, with a deep connection to the land and the stars under which they awoke. For a long time, they lived in peace, exploring the forests and rivers of Middle-earth, unaware of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. The elves were a curious and brave people, and it wasn't long before they began to wonder about the world beyond their quiet glades. This curiosity drew the attention of the Valar, the powerful spirits who had descended into Arda to shape the world. One of them, Orome, the hunter, discovered the elves and was struck by their beauty and nobility. He called them the Eldar and invited them to come to Aman, the land of the Valar, a place of light and beauty beyond their wildest dreams. But this journey was not without its challenges. Many of the elves chose to undertake the great journey, crossing vast lands and facing many dangers to reach Aman. Yet, some decided to stay behind, becoming the Avari, the unwilling, who remained in Middle-earth, shunning the call of the Valar. This division would shape much of the history to come, as those who journeyed to Aman, the Calaquendi, or Elves of the Light, would return to Middle-earth with a power and wisdom unknown to those who stayed behind. And so, the Elves arrived in Aman, where they were welcomed by the Valar and lived in peace and bliss. But as with all great stories, peace did not last. Enter Fina, the greatest and most fiery of all the elves. He was a master craftsman, and in his hands, even the simplest of materials could be turned into something extraordinary. But his greatest achievement, and ultimately his greatest curse, was the creation of the Silmarils. The Silmarils were 3 perfect jewels that contained within them the light of the 2 trees of Valinor, a light more pure and radiant than anything else in the world. They were beyond beautiful, and even the Valar marveled at their splendor. But with such beauty came great peril. The Silmarils became the focus of Fina's pride and obsession, and he guarded them jealously. Morgoth, the great enemy and the first Dark Lord, saw in the Silmarils an opportunity. He coveted their light, and with lies and deceit, he sowed discord among the elves. In a fateful turn of events, Morgoth stole the Silmarils, killing Fina's father, Finwë, in the process. Fina was consumed by grief and rage. In his fury, he swore a terrible oath, along with his 7 sons, to pursue anyone who would keep the Silmarils from them, whether Valar, elf, or mortal. This oath was a moment of tragic destiny. It drove Fina and many of the Noldor elves to rebel against the Valar and leave Aman, returning to Middle-earth to wage a bitter war against Morgoth. They crossed the treacherous Helcarax, the grinding ice, enduring unimaginable hardships to fulfill their vow. Their arrival in Middle-earth marked the beginning of the long and bloody Wars of Beleriand. The Wars of Beleriand were a series of devastating battles between the forces of Morgoth and the elves and their allies. These wars were fought with a ferocity and a valor that would become the stuff of legend. Many great heroes rose during this time: Fingolfin, who challenged Morgoth to single combat; Beren and Luthien, whose love and courage defied even death; and Hurin, whose tragic fate was intertwined with the doom of his children. Yet, despite their bravery and strength, the elves could not stand alone against Morgoth's might. Betrayal, sorrow, and loss marked these wars. The Noldor, once a proud and noble people, were brought low by the very oath they had sworn. The Silmarils, which had seemed so beautiful, became a curse that drove them to despair and ruin. The final blow came during the Nenith Arnediad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, where the combined forces of elves, men, and dwarfs were utterly defeated. The armies of Morgoth overran Beleriand, and hope seemed lost. But even in the darkest of times, there were glimmers of light. Eärendil, a mariner of both elven and human descent, took to the skies with one of the Silmarils, sailing to the very gates of Valinor to beg the Valar for aid. Moved by his plea, the Valar finally took pity on the elves and men of Middle-earth. They came forth in their might, and in the War of Wrath, they defeated Morgoth, casting him into the void. But the cost was great. Beleriand was shattered and submerged beneath the sea, and many of the great realms of the elves were lost forever. So ended the First Age in fire and ruin. The elves, who had awakened under the stars and journeyed to the land of light, were now a people in exile, scattered and broken. The Silmarils, which had once shone with the light of the 2 trees, were lost to the world, one in the sky, one in the earth, and one in the sea. And yet, the echoes of this age would resonate through the ages to come, shaping the fate of Middle-earth and all its inhabitants. This is the tragic beauty of the First Age, a time of wonder and sorrow, of great deeds and greater loss. Fina really knew how to stir up some drama, didn't he? If you think he should have just taken a deep breath and maybe a vacation, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the incredible history of Middle-earth. The story of the Second Age is one of both glory and downfall, of human achievement and the corruption that followed, and no tale encapsulates this more than the rise and tragic fall of Numenor. Imagine an island kingdom, a land gifted by the Valar themselves to the Edain, those humans who had stood against Morgoth in the First Age. Numenor was a paradise, a place of unmatched beauty and splendor, rising from the sea like a jewel. Its people, the Númenóreans, were blessed with long life, great wisdom, and unparalleled skill in both crafts and warfare. For many centuries, Numenor flourished. The Númenóreans built grand cities with white marble towers that reached for the sky. Their ships sailed the seas, exploring the farthest reaches of the world. They shared their knowledge and wisdom with the people of Middle-earth, teaching them, guiding them, and protecting them from the lingering shadows of Morgoth. It was truly a golden age, a time when the kingdom of Numenor stood as a beacon of hope and strength. But with prosperity came pride. As the Númenóreans' power grew, so did their desire for more. They became envious of the immortality of the Elves and resented the ban of the Valar, which forbade them from sailing west to Aman, the undying lands. They longed for eternal life, to escape the gift of men, as death was known among them. This yearning for immortality would become their undoing. Into this simmering discontent stepped Sauron. Having survived the destruction of Morgoth, he sought to dominate Middle-earth, but he saw that the Númenóreans were too powerful to be conquered by force. Instead, he would use guile and deception to bring them low. Captured by the Númenórean fleet and brought to the island as a prisoner, Sauron quickly turned the tables. With his silver tongue and cunning mind, he wormed his way into the favor of Ar-Pharazôn, the last and most ambitious king of Numenor. Sauron played upon the Númenóreans' fears and desires. He told them that the ban of the Valar was a lie, that the true power lay in embracing the darkness. He promised them immortality and power beyond their wildest dreams, if only they would forsake the Valar and worship Morgoth. Ar-Pharazôn, blinded by his pride and fear of death, believed him. Under Sauron's influence, the once great kingdom of Numenor fell into darkness. Temples were built to Morgoth, human sacrifices were made, and the faithful who resisted were persecuted. The island, once filled with light and beauty, became a place of shadow and terror. Sauron, now the king's chief advisor, whispered lies and poisoned the hearts of the people. The Númenóreans, who had once been friends to the Elves and protectors of the weak, now became oppressors and tyrants, spreading fear and destruction wherever they went. But Sauron's ambition did not end with corrupting Numenor. He knew that the Númenóreans still feared death, and he used this fear to drive them to madness. He convinced Ar-Pharazôn to build a great fleet and sail to Aman itself, to wrest the gift of immortality from the Valar by force. It was an act of supreme hubris, a direct challenge to the powers beyond the world. And so, the mightiest fleet ever seen sailed from Numenor. The skies darkened, the seas roared, and the earth trembled as the Númenóreans approached the shores of Aman. But when they set foot upon the blessed realm, it was not victory that awaited them. The Valar, in their anger and sorrow, called upon Eru Ilúvatar himself. In that moment, the world was changed. Numenor was swallowed by the sea, its great cities, its proud people, and all their works lost beneath the waves. Ar-Pharazôn and his followers were buried in the caves of the Forgotten, and the beautiful island of Numenor became a legend, a cautionary tale of pride and fall. But not all was lost. A small group of the faithful, led by Elendil and his sons, escaped the destruction, sailing east to Middle-earth. They carried with them the knowledge and wisdom of Numenor, and they founded the realms of Arnor and Gondor, planting the seeds of hope for the future. Sauron, however, did not escape unscathed. His fair form was destroyed in the fall of Numenor, and he fled back to Middle-earth, taking up his dark armor once more. He returned to his stronghold of Barad-dûr, and there, in the land of Mordor, he began to forge anew his dominion over the world, and thus began the final act of the Second Age. The Elves and the Númenóreans who had survived the fall of Numenor knew that Sauron's power must be stopped once and for all. They formed the last alliance of elves and men, a mighty host led by Gil-galad, the High King of the Elves, and Elendil, the leader of the Númenóreans in exile. Together they marched to Mordor and besieged Sauron's fortress of Barad-dûr. For 7 long years, the siege lasted. The armies of Sauron and the forces of the last alliance clashed in a war of unimaginable scale and ferocity. In the end, it came down to a single battle at the slopes of Mount Doom. There, Sauron himself came forth, wielding the power of the One Ring. In the desperate struggle that followed, both Gil-galad and Elendil were slain, and the forces of the last alliance were on the brink of defeat. But then Isildur, the son of Elendil, took up his father's broken sword, Narsil, and with a final stroke, cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand. Sauron's physical form was destroyed, and his armies scattered. Victory was at hand, but it was incomplete. Instead of destroying the ring, Isildur kept it for himself, claiming it as a weregild for his father and brother's deaths. And so, the Second Age ended not with a definitive victory, but with a lingering shadow. The One Ring, the source of Sauron's power, was not destroyed, and its evil would continue to poison the world. The elves and men, who had stood together against the darkness, were left divided and weakened, and the memory of Numenor, that great island kingdom that had risen so high and fallen so far, became a warning to all who would dare to challenge the will of the Valar and the fate set forth by Ilúvatar. Numenor really went from hero to zero, all thanks to Sauron's silver tongue. Think you would have seen through his lies? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the epic tales of Middle-earth. The Third Age is a time of gradual decline, a long, slow unraveling of the greatness that once was. It's a period where the shadows grow longer and the hopes of the free peoples seem to wane. Let's start with the 2 great kingdoms of men, Arnor in the north and Gondor in the south. These were the realms established by Elendil and his sons after the fall of Numenor, places where the last remnants of Númenórean strength and wisdom were preserved. In the early days, Arnor and Gondor were strong and prosperous. Gondor, with its shining city of Minas Tirith and the great stronghold of Osgiliath, stood as a bulwark against the darkness of Mordor. Arnor, on the other hand, ruled from the serene city of Annúminas by the shores of Lake Evendim, a symbol of peace and wisdom. But while Gondor grew in might, Arnor faced a different fate. The kingdom was divided into 3 lesser realms due to internal strife and the ambitions of its lords. This division left them vulnerable to the shadow that loomed ever closer. In the north, the once proud realm of Arnor fell into ruin, beset by wars with Angmar, the Witch King's realm. One by one its cities fell, its people scattered, and its kings perished until only a few rangers remained, wandering the wilds, keeping watch over lands that had long been forgotten. The line of kings in the north seemed to vanish, becoming little more than a myth. Meanwhile, Gondor, though mighty, was not untouched by decline. After centuries of war and strife, the line of kings in Gondor also came to an end. The stewards took up the rule, noble and capable men, but they were not kings. Gondor's strength waned as it faced relentless assaults from the east and the south, and its once great cities like Osgiliath were left in ruins. Yet Gondor stood firm, the last bastion of human strength and defiance against the encroaching darkness. But while the kingdoms of men were falling into decay, a far greater threat was growing in secret. Sauron, thought to have been defeated, was quietly gathering his strength. For centuries he hid in the shadows, building his power in secret. First he took the guise of the necromancer and established his stronghold in Dol Guldur, in the dark heart of Mirkwood. There his influence spread like a disease, corrupting the forest and driving the wood elves to the brink of despair. For a time, even the wise, the greatest of the free peoples, were unsure of his true identity. It wasn't until the White Council, led by Gandalf and Saruman, drove him from Dol Guldur that his true intentions became clear. Sauron returned to Mordor, the land that he had made his own in the Second Age, and there he openly declared himself. The Dark Tower of Barad-dûr was rebuilt, and the fires of Mount Doom were rekindled. The eye of Sauron watched unblinking from the Dark Tower, and the land of Mordor, once a wasteland, became a fortress brimming with orcs, trolls, and all manner of evil creatures. The free peoples, scattered and leaderless, faced their darkest hour. The Elves, who had once been the guiding light of Middle-earth, were withdrawing to their hidden realms, weary of the endless struggle. The Dwarves, ever resilient, had locked themselves away in their mountain strongholds, and the kingdoms of men, divided and weakened, seemed powerless to stand against the might of Mordor. But hope remained, though it came from the most unexpected of places. In a quiet corner of Middle-earth, in a small and unassuming land called the Shire, the fate of the world was being decided. The One Ring, lost for so long, had been found by a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins, and from his hands it passed to his nephew, Frodo. It was a time when the smallest person could shape the destiny of all, and Frodo, with his loyal friend Sam, set out on a journey that would take them to the very heart of darkness. The formation of the Fellowship of the Ring was a desperate act, a final attempt to unite the free peoples against the overwhelming power of Sauron. Elves, dwarves, men and hobbits all came together, bound by a common purpose. Their task was simple, yet almost impossible: to carry the One Ring, the source of Sauron's power, into the heart of Mordor and cast it into the fires of Mount Doom from which it was forged. What followed was a tale of incredible bravery, friendship and sacrifice. The Fellowship was broken, but their mission endured. Aragorn, the lost heir of Isildur, rallied the forces of Gondor and Rohan. Legolas and Gimli, an elf and a dwarf bound by a newfound friendship, fought side by side, and Frodo, bearing the ring, endured the unbearable weight of its corruption and the endless dangers of the Dark Land. The battles that raged across Middle-earth were unlike any seen before. Helm's Deep, the Pelennor Fields, the Black Gate, each was a stand against the overwhelming darkness. But it wasn't swords or arrows that would decide the fate of the world. It was a simple act of mercy, a moment of grace, when Frodo, standing on the brink of destruction, spared Gollum. For in that moment, it was not the strength of men or the wisdom of elves that triumphed, but the courage and compassion of a single hobbit. Gollum, driven by his own obsession, took the ring and fell into the fire, destroying it and Sauron's power with it. The Dark Tower crumbled, the armies of Mordor were scattered, and the free peoples of Middle-earth were saved. It took a hobbit to do what kings and armies could not, a reminder that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. And so ended the Third Age, not with the triumph of the great, but with the victory of the humble. The kingdoms of men were restored. The elves began their final journey west, and the world was made new. But the memory of those dark days would linger, a warning and a lesson for the ages to come. If you're rooting for the underdogs like Frodo and Sam, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Because here at GenWarz, we celebrate the stories where even the most unlikely heroes can make all the difference. The Fourth Age of Middle-earth marks a significant turning point in the history of this world, a time of endings and new beginnings, where the echoes of ancient stories gradually fade into the realm of legend. With the fall of Sauron and the destruction of the One Ring, the darkness that had long overshadowed Middle-earth was finally dispelled. But as one chapter closed, another began, heralding the dominion of men. The Fourth Age begins with the crowning of Aragorn as King Elessar, a moment of great hope and renewal. Aragorn, the long-awaited heir of Isildur, finally takes his place on the throne of Gondor. His coronation is not just the beginning of his reign, but a symbol of the reunification of the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor, the fulfillment of a promise made long ago. Under his wise and just rule, peace returns to the lands that had been ravaged by war for so many generations. Aragorn's reign ushers in a time of prosperity and healing. The scars of battle slowly fade, cities and villages are rebuilt, and the people of Middle-earth can finally live without the constant fear of shadow. The White Tree of Gondor, which had long stood barren, blooms once more, a living testament to the renewal of hope. In Rohan, Éomer takes up the mantle of king, and together with Aragorn, they forge a new era of friendship and cooperation between their realms. But while the world of men flourishes, the end of the Third Age also brings the departure of the Elves. The Elves, who had long been the guardians of Middle-earth, begin their journey to the Undying Lands, leaving behind the world they had shaped and protected for so long. It's a bittersweet farewell, a reminder that even the most beautiful and eternal things must come to an end. The Elves leave quietly, their ships setting sail from the Grey Havens, bound for the distant shores of Valinor. With them go the last remnants of the great magic and wonder that had once filled Middle-earth. This departure marks the fading of the old world, the world of myth and legend, of gods and heroes. The age of elves and dwarves gives way to the age of men, and with it a new kind of history begins, one that is shaped not by the deeds of mighty beings, but by the courage and determination of ordinary people. It's a time of peace, but it's also a time of change. The hobbits, who had played such an unexpected yet pivotal role in the great events of the world, return to the Shire. There they find that life has carried on much as it always has. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin are hailed as heroes, but for the most part, the Shire remains untouched by the great struggles that have shaken the world outside its borders. Yet even in the Shire, things are not quite the same. Frodo, bearing the weight of his scars and the memories of his journey, finds that he can no longer live the quiet, simple life he once knew. And so he too leaves Middle-earth, sailing with the last of the elves to the Undying Lands, seeking peace and healing beyond the world's circles. As the elves depart, the dwarves too begin to fade into the shadows of history. Though they remain in their mountain halls, their great works become fewer, their numbers dwindle, and their once great kingdoms are less often spoken of. The world of men expands, filling the lands that once belonged to the elves and dwarves, and slowly, the memory of those older peoples begins to fade. The Fourth Age is often seen as a time of peace and recovery, but it is also a time of nostalgia, of looking back at what has been lost. The heroes of the past become legends, their deeds remembered in song and story, but the world they lived in becomes a distant memory, a place of fading magic and wonder. Middle-earth finally gets some peace and quiet, but it's a bittersweet peace. It's the peace of a world that has survived great darkness, but that has also lost something precious in the process. The elves are gone, the last of the great rings have passed into history, and the world is left to the dominion of men. And so the Fourth Age begins, a time of new possibilities, but also a time of remembering. The land is at peace, but it is a peace that comes with the knowledge that the world has changed, and that nothing, not even Middle-earth, can stay the same forever. If you lived in the Fourth Age, what would you miss the most? The elves, with their grace and beauty, the dwarves with their craftsmanship and strength, or perhaps the quiet, unassuming magic of the Shire? Let us know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this journey through the ages of Middle-earth, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the rich tapestry of this incredible world. Middle-earth is more than just a fantastical setting for epic battles and grand adventures. It's a world woven with themes that resonate deeply with readers and viewers alike, themes that speak to the human experience in profound ways. At the heart of Tolkien's work is the timeless struggle between good and evil, a battle that isn't always fought with swords and arrows, but often in the choices we make, the courage we muster, and the hope we hold on to, even in the darkest of times. One of the most powerful themes in Middle-earth is the resilience of hope against overwhelming darkness. Throughout Tolkien's works, from the First Age to the end of the Third Age, we see this struggle play out again and again. Whether it's the elves of Beleriand standing against the might of Morgoth, or the men of Gondor holding the line against Sauron's forces, there is a constant reminder that, no matter how dire the situation, there is always a sliver of light. This theme is embodied in characters like Frodo, Sam, Aragorn, and even Gandalf. They face seemingly insurmountable odds, yet they press on, not because they believe they will succeed, but because they know they must try. It's this hope, this resilience, that gives Middle-earth its enduring power. Then, there's the theme of the power of small acts. Tolkien, more than almost any other storyteller, shows us that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. Think about Frodo and Sam, two simple hobbits from the quiet Shire who carry the fate of the world on their shoulders. They aren't warriors or wizards, they don't have great strength or skill in battle. What they have is heart, determination, and a willingness to do what must be done, no matter the cost. It's not just the grand deeds of kings and heroes that shape the world, but the small, seemingly insignificant acts of kindness, courage, and mercy. Consider Gollum, a creature twisted by the power of the ring. It's easy to see him as beyond redemption, a lost soul with no place in the light. Yet it's Frodo's small act of mercy, sparing Gollum's life, that ultimately leads to the destruction of the ring. It's a poignant reminder that even those who seem beyond hope can have a part to play in the great tapestry of fate. In Middle-earth, it's the smallest hands that can often turn the wheels of the world. Tolkien's legacy, however, extends far beyond the pages of his books. His work has had a profound impact on literature, film, and popular culture. His intricate world-building, his use of language and myth, has set the standard for fantasy writing. The depth and richness of Middle-earth have inspired countless authors, filmmakers, and artists. The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit have become more than just stories. They are cultural touchstones, tales that have been embraced by generations. The films brought Tolkien's world to a global audience, capturing the imagination of millions and bringing new life to the characters and stories we love. They showed us the sweeping landscapes of Middle-earth, the towering peaks of the misty mountains, the rolling hills of the Shire, and the dark, fiery depths of Mount Doom. They gave us iconic portrayals of characters like Gandalf, Aragorn, and Frodo, performances that have become synonymous with these roles. But beyond the books and the movies, Middle-earth's legacy lives on in the way it makes us feel, the way it inspires us to be better, braver, more compassionate. It teaches us that no matter how small or insignificant we may feel, we have the power to make a difference. It reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, there is always hope, and that as long as we keep moving forward, we can find our way through. From the Shire to Mount Doom, Middle-earth's legacy is one of hope, courage, and the power of the human spirit. What's your favorite theme or moment from Tolkien's world? Is it the bravery of the Fellowship, the tragedy of the Elves, or the simple, enduring beauty of the Shire? Let's chat in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this journey through the themes and legacy of Middle-earth, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the worlds we all love. Thank you for joining us on this epic journey through the history of Middle-earth. We've traveled from the music of the Ainur to the final defeat of Sauron, exploring the legends, heroes, and incredible stories that make this world so captivating. It's been a true adventure, and we hope you've enjoyed every moment of it. If you found this deep dive fascinating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to GenWarz for more legendary lore. We have so much more to explore together, whether it's the tales of the Valar, the secret history of the Dwarves, or the mysteries of the Blue Wizards. And hey, we want to hear from you. What part of Middle-earth's history should we cover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below, and let's dive into the stories you're most excited about. Until next time, may your sword stay sharp, your lembas bread stay fresh, and your Wi-Fi connection be as strong as the walls of Minas Tirith. We'll see you in the next adventure.